From KATU News, this is breaking news.
We are continuing to follow breaking news. This is a live look from Chopper 2. This is over an oil train that derailed just after noon in the gorge. 11 cars overturned in a 96-car oil train. Huge black plumes of smoke can be seen for miles. Luckily, at this point, no injuries have been reported. This all happened in Mosier between Hood River and the Dalles. I-84 shut down for more than 20 miles.
And we have a team of reporters on this for you. We want to start with K2's Joe English. He is live on the Washington side of the Columbia River, just across from Mosier. Joe, from your vantage point, you can see that big column of black smoke behind you.
Yeah, absolutely. A big column of smoke and flames that have been going up above the tree line through the afternoon. Our photographer, Sean Broderick's going to zoom in for you. We have not only seen the smoke, but you notice it goes straight up, and you have to go up about 500, even 1,000 feet before it starts to drift. So the wind out here, very calm, and that's unusual. We've also seen flashing lights just in the last half hour or so around the fire. What appears to be state patrol cars going after people who may be trying to get in there to get a look and are not supposed to be in there, but we continue to see the flames burning through those trees there. And the fire, of course, a concern through the weekend, thinking they're just going to let this burn out, but air quality as well. Health officials saying this could be a problem. If you just have to use common sense out here. If you see the smoke in your area, if you smell it, stay indoors if you can, close your windows if you can. Of course, we've got a very hot weekend coming up, and that could be a concern out here. The other thing through the evening is that traffic has been an issue on both sides of the river. Of course, traffic is moving kind of on the Washington side of the river, but Washington State Patrol said no, don't use SR 14 between Bingen and Dallesport if you don't have to, because you can see the westbound lane of SR 14 is just standing still right now. So eastbound traffic is moving, but you're going to be in trouble if you try to head westbound on SR 14. And also a reminder, on this side of the river, it's Burlington Northern that takes care of the railroad tracks. They are keeping an eye on people wanting to come and get a good vantage point. Take photos of this fire. Don't go on or near the railroad tracks. Stay off of their right-of-way. They don't want to have to be dealing with another emergency in addition to this fire. In the Columbia River Gorge, Joe English, K2 News.
All right, Joe, thank you. And you may not have noticed this or seen this, Joe, from your vantage point, but our viewers were watching these live pictures from Chopper 2. We just saw a very large explosion, and these flames have really ramped up in the last 20 or 30 seconds here, right after that explosion happened.
And you can see it's also close to structures and a tree line. We haven't seen these explosions up until now. Originally, they were saying just one oil car was burning. We've been able to see through aerial pictures from Chopper 2 that there are more oil cars definitely involved in this. And this is one of the concerns once this first spilled or overturned is the potential for the explosions.
And of course, this is close to structures. We've been seeing some of those aerials from Chopper 2 that show what structures, where they are in relation. Don't know exactly what those structures are or exactly how close, but it is evident from Chopper 2 footage that they are nearby.
One of the people who witnessed this, or actually more felt the overturned rail cars, has mentioned that he's watched the flames jump from car to car. So again, we're still waiting for official word on how many oil train cars are affected by this, but just from these aerial pictures you can see it is definitely more than one at this point. And this train was traveling from Eastport, Idaho to Tacoma, Washington, and Joe mentioned this, and it's obvious from these pictures traffic is definitely affected from I-84. Let's give you a quick look at this map. If you are going eastbound, it is closed at Mosier. I-84 westbound is closed at the Dalles. So here's the detour that you need to keep in mind. If you are heading east on I-84, go north on Oregon 35 across the Hood River Bridge, east on Washington SR 14, then back to I-84 south on US 197 across the Dalles Bridge to I-84. I know this is a lot of numbers, but if you're familiar with this area, hopefully you're familiar with this route. This is not the best way for large trucks. If you're heading westbound, exit at US 197, cross the Dalles Bridge, northbound to Washington SR 14 west, and then go to Oregon 35, cross back into Oregon across the Hood River Bridge.
Now, hopefully most parents are up to date on what is happening with kids in schools. This is the information we were given a little bit earlier. Mosier schools were evacuated. About 200 students evacuated from an elementary and middle school near the scene. They were taken to the Watonka campus in the Dalles. That is where parents can pick them up. No word on any other evacuations at this point, but I do want to mention that as of 4:37, we were told that Horizon Christian School in Hood River, the bus has not been sent, and they were holding students at the school until the situation improves. We're waiting for an update on that information, but again, that was as of about 4:37 this afternoon.
And we are watching these pictures from Chopper 2, and the fire has grown increasingly. Dave Selesky standing by, and it's lucky, Dave, that the wind hasn't picked up yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one saving grace in all this. The winds have not picked up. And, you know, the Mosier, Hood River area, Cascade Locks, very popular with windsurfers, board sitters out there. Again, just in the last few minutes, as Lincoln mentioned, we've watched a huge increase in the flames, an explosion, possibly from another tank car that's been breached and is now, we're seeing liquid crude oil burning at this time. We do know that as far as firefighters go, they've gone to a defensive mode on this, which means they're not fighting this fire. They're trying to protect surrounding structures and grasslands at this time. And again, they're going to try to let this thing burn out. We were talking earlier that if you look at a standard tank car, one of these standard-sized tank cars contains 30,000 gallons of crude oil. Now, there are 11 of them that apparently derailed, and we know we have multiple tank cars that are burning at this time. So perhaps at least 60 to 90,000 gallons of crude oil is potentially on fire here. And as you can see from our live cameras, this thing has just really taken off in the last few minutes. This is incredible video.
Dave, we'll get back to you in just a little bit. Right now, we want to go to Catherine Kissel, who is live in Hood River with more tonight. Catherine?
Yeah, Devin, Lincoln, Brett Vanden Heuvel is with us. He's with the Columbia River Keepers, and he's got big concerns. He's out here, and what are some of the things that some of your guys are talking about right now?
Yeah, well, there's just an explosion and massive fire and plumes from an oil train, and our communities can't be a sacrifice zone for shipping more oil. It's time for our leaders to stand up and ban more oil trains through our community.
Tell me about where the accident happened specifically and some of the environmental concerns that you have.
Just about 6 miles east of Hood River in Mosier. It's right in the heart of town, so we're hoping and praying that there's no injuries. We've been told the people have evacuated and there's no injuries, so first concerned about people and their safety, but also a spill into the Columbia River. It could be devastating to our river, to our economy, and we've all seen these trains explode, and now it's happening very close to home.
Yeah, we still don't know if the oil has leaked into the Columbia, but let's say that it has. What kind of concern, what would it take to clean up something like that?
Yeah, we don't know about any oil spills. A large spill on the Columbia from a super tanker or from an oil train could be devastating. It's not easy to clean up oil in moving water. All the salmon that pass through here to go to spawn could be devastated by an oil spill.
Yeah, you said it could really affect our economy too, if that's what it is.
Yeah, you know, we depend on this river. This river is important to our livelihoods. It's important to our well-being, to our livability, and it's also important to the people who work on the river every day catching fish for their families. And so it's a big economic impact when this river gets shut down, not to mention our community being shut down from the emergency response.
Sure. Brett, thanks so much for being with us, and that's the latest here. And you can see traffic is moving, but again, this is where the detour is. They're going onto the Hood River Toll Road, and drivers are saying that it's taking them 1, 2, 3 hours even. So I know ODOT has told folks to just stay at home. If you had plans even for the weekend, he says to cancel them because they just don't have any idea when their interstate will reopen at this point. We're live in Hood River. Catherine Kissel, KATU News.
Good idea to stay off the roads. Catherine, thank you very much. The Gorge is one of the most heavily traveled oil train routes in the country. Here's a look at what we're witnessing right now, the derailment. 11 cars in a massive oil train, 96-car train derailed. This train, operated by Union Pacific, calls to them have not been returned. But the train originated in Eastport, Idaho, hauling close to 100 tankers, again, of Bakken crude oil. And that oil is from one of the largest deposits in North America, concentrated in North Dakota, Montana, and Saskatchewan, Canada. In May, the region produced more than 1 million barrels of oil a day, but production's down significantly from last year because oil prices have been so low.
There have been several witnesses to what happened early on in the day. We want to head over to KATU's Corey Marshall in the newsroom. And Corey, you spoke to a witness?
Yeah, Brian Shurton had just dropped off a friend and was headed back to Hood River when the train train got his attention. It caught his eye even before the fiery crash. He says the sheer length of the oil train made him turn his head. It was only a few moments later that Shurton says he heard a loud screech and the back-to-back-to-back bangs of the tanks slamming into one another. He says it looked like the railroad gave as each section started tipping off the track.
And then I saw the train kind of turn on its side to the left side of the track. And then the rest of the train hit, sort of bumped against it, and you could see where it pushed everything together, and it was like dominoes, kind of. And then I looked, there was smoke, and then I looked and there was a fire.
Now, this is a picture Shurton took moments after the derailment. He says there wasn't any sign of explosion, but as we know, that has since changed just in the last few minutes. Chopper 2 captured those images from above. Worried that there could be one, he went over the overpass to the other side of a highway where he says he stopped a school bus from crossing over. We're currently trying to track down where the school bus was heading from. We're live in the newsroom. Corey Marshall, KATU News.
Corey, thank you. We're going to take another live look from Chopper 2 and bring Dave back into the picture here. I know EPA officials are headed to the scene to assess the environmental potential of what is going on there. And Dave, the winds have been relatively quiet now, but they're going to ramp up.
Indeed. You can see from that camera right there on board Chopper 2, we're still seeing the flames really ramping up here. If we can get another view, perhaps a little wider, you can see the smoke plume is still rising vertically. So we're not seeing that thing lay down and fly down the gorge. There you see our live camera. It's over in the Cascade, over in the Stevenson area on the north bank of the Columbia. So again, you can see that smoke plume rising vertically to about 2,000 feet, and then it begins to tilt over. Some of the upper level winds are blowing from east to west, and those wind speeds will be picking up later on this evening. As a matter of fact, I want to show you this computer model simulation we have going here. I've advanced the time on this up to about 8:30 p.m. and as you can see, the winds are picking up at about the 2,000 to 3,000 foot elevation. So it'll take that smoke plume, which is now rising vertically, and move it down the gorge, coming from the east down towards Hood River and eventually towards Cascade Locks. And depending upon how long this fire goes and keeps going, those winds could blow some of that smoke into parts of the metro area in the next few hours. We'll have to keep an eye on that and see how much of it dissipates. Here are the winds forecasted I've done over the next few hours. So for the remainder of today, let's say up to about 7, 8 o'clock tonight, they're going to be variable out of the north-northeast about 2 to 5 miles an hour. By tonight, after about 8:30, 9 o'clock, winds picking up 5 to 20 miles an hour later on this evening. And if we can't take the next graphic, by Saturday, we're talking winds upwards of maybe 25 miles an hour for tomorrow, and high temperatures continuing in the upper 90s and low 100s over the next few days. Back to you guys.
All right, Dave, thank you. We did get a statement from Governor Kate Brown today. She said, quote, "I am grateful to local first responders, hazmat teams, and other state agencies for doing their best to keep the community of Mosier safe. I am closely monitoring the situation and ready to make every state resource available as needed. I ask that travelers seek alternate routes away from this area until further notice. The Oregon Department of Transportation will provide continuous updates on travel conditions."
And we are going to continue our coverage of this oil train derailment in the Columbia River Gorge right after this.